Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in about 1 minute. We're going to give people the opportunity to join the webinar this morning. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Citizens for Modern Transit, I'd like to welcome you to our latest Talking Transit series on building linear neighborhoods. Welcome to the CMT board members who have joined us today, and special thanks to all of our sponsors, especially our platinum sponsors this morning: AARP in St. Louis, Bi-State Development, the City of Fairview Heights, Greater St. Louis, Inc., HNTB, and the St. Clair County Transit District. In this current environment that we're working in, these sponsorships are critical for allowing CMT to continue to move our advocacy to action. And so we would be remiss if we did not recognize our sponsors this morning. So thank you very much to all of you for your continued support. One of the most significant benefits of an integrated transit system is its ability to connect riders and residents to housing, employment opportunities, and other needed resources. This can be established by working to build linear neighborhoods, which we're starting to see come to life along the red line around the North Hanley, UMSL North and UMSL South, and Rock Road transit centers. Today, we're going to have the opportunity to discuss linear neighborhoods being built around these metro transit centers in North St. Louis County. These neighborhoods feature mixed-use development along these key transportation corridors, which are really designed to increase accessibility to amenities and open spaces. So let's begin this morning by meeting our panel and welcome them. So we have Sal Martinez with us today, the CEO of Employment Connection; Aaron Burnett, the president of Bywater Development Group; Janet Wilding, the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Economic and Community Development at the University of Missouri St. Louis; Daphne Moore, the Senior Director of Economic Development at Beyond Housing, as well as we have John Langa, the Vice President of Economic Development at Bi-State, as a resource when we begin our Q&A. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us this morning for this important conversation. Each of these panelists is working on projects along the red line that will not only enhance those respective stations that they're working at, but provide much needed resources for others accessing these destinations via transit. It's really creating the necessary building blocks to establish a successful linear neighborhood. We know there are already many opportunities and resources along the red line, but we wanted to take a moment today to hear about these new developments and additional work underway that will only enhance this portion of the Metrolink system in the region. So let's give our panelists a chance to outline each of the projects they're working on at the North Hanley, UMSL North and South, and Rock Road transit centers. So please take a moment, leave your questions in the chat box and Q&A, and we will spend as much time as possible on the discussion side of this. But let's start with Sal and Aaron, who will both be discussing the University Crossing development underway at the North Hanley Transit Center. Sal, Aaron, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Burnett with Bywater Development Group, and I'm going to present a little bit of this and then turn it over to Sal as our development partner at Employment Connection. But what you see here is the rendering of the development we're calling University Crossing at the North Hanley Metrolink station. Travis, we can probably go to the next slide. I'm sure folks are familiar with this location, but the North Hanley Metro Station was built in the 1990s, and I think over time it's become kind of obvious that it was probably overdeveloped in terms of land and Bi-State went through a process to get some of the land considered surplus property to make way for transit-oriented development and reinvestment at this particular location. So, kind of as we talk, this is the existing condition today, and we can move on to the next slide. Um, the timeline of events we want to share with you all, and we owe it to you not to read every line to you in a scenario like this one, but we do want to say that any meaningful redevelopment and a transit-oriented development like this one takes a long period of time and a number of groups and parties involved to get to that. If you look at the origin story on this one, if you will, um, a lot of the work we're doing today really started in 2016 and 2017 with ULI of St. Louis and many other partners coming up with a set of recommendations for redevelopment and TOD at this particular site. That led to an RFP in 2018 by State UMSL and a private property owner to what we at Bywater applied to as a potential developer for that, and really in 18 and 19 we all got locked in on an approach to start to make that larger vision happen. Um, in 2020, we added on our side a co-developer at Employment Connection, and I think shortly you're going to understand why that's so important for this particular development. Um, and in the intervening period, we've been working really, really hard to do two things: refine and improve our overall plans, and work through a really, really hyper competitive process to be able to attract tax credit financing and other financial resources to make something like this work. So in December, it was December 14th of 2023, we were awarded tax credit financing from the Missouri Housing Development Commission that really made this go from concept into reality. So, we certainly still have that day marked on the calendar and remember it well. 2024 became, the time to really dig in on true pre-development work, which has gone very, very well in terms of rezoning of the subject site that we're working on, environmental reviews that come with the federal funding that's involved, things along that line. Um, at this point, we are in our world, on the doorstep of a financial closing and a groundbreaking, and that's when we start construction, which, should be in the next couple months. There's quite a few moving parts to we often land at a closing and start date more so than plan them out well in advance, but that work is well underway. And then just the last piece is that we expect a 14-month build period, and then summer of 2026 is when we go operational with leasing and operation of the property. So next slide, please, Travis. Just to take a step back in terms of what we're working on and to let this audience and this group know about it. Um, when we originally started, I think all the parties and stakeholders involved thought what we really need to do is master plan something for this particular site. And the reality of it is, anything like this will have to be addressed in phases and in increments. But we wanted to be guided by a scenario which we're thinking about the creation of a transit-oriented village at this location that provides mixed income, mixed uses, and frankly just create some market strength around this particular station to take advantage of all the great resources that are there. So this has been kind of the framework that's guided us in everything that we're doing on this particular development. I will point out that this is conceptual in nature, and no matter what happens in the future, it's probably not going to look exactly like this, no matter no matter what. But this is the guidepost we used in thinking through what we were working on. Next slide, please. With a lot of engagement with the stakeholders involved, we isolated the southwest corner of the site, which is shown there in yellow, as the ideal spot to do a first phase, really to become the first anchor that leads into that larger plan and helps to establish a market in where we work. So next slide. Here's the more detailed site plan of this development, which we're calling University Crossing. We hope it's a first phase, but it's designed to work on its own. one way or the other. It's not financially contingent on anything else happening, but it is something where we, want this to be the first placemaking aspect of getting to that larger transit-oriented development village. Next slide. Here's our final rendering that, we hope and probably biasly believe that, contributes to the placemaking kind of look that we're all trying to get to and creates a sustainable anchor to, continue to do more of this at this particular location. Next slide. Here's just another look at the perspective to the right is the current condition, which is it is a great parking lot. But to the left is what we will be added, at this particular location. And again, just a placemaking building block and creating some market strength that, hopefully can translate into additional work at this location. Next slide, if you don't mind. Um, our target audience for this development this is primarily a mixed income residential development with 60 apartment units in it that includes one bedrooms, two bedrooms, and three bedrooms. I think you'll see by our rental range for this is designed to be mixed income, and we're trying very, very hard and have worked to make sure that we're providing affordability for households in North St. Louis County that need really high quality, affordable housing options, but also trying to push the market as much as we can to become the basis for additional, more mixed use development at this particular location. Our amenities package within the development itself is in line with any market rate product you'll see out there in terms of professional management, fitness center, shared lounges, outdoor green space. That's near and dear to us in terms of making sure this is a marketable product and a sustainable, financially viable development over the long term. Two things that really jump out that are unique to this particular site is obvious one is the adjacency to transit and the opportunities that provides anyone who may, choose to live in this particular development. The other is just the array of community assets in the area. UMSL being so close by with opportunities for advancement, all the jobs in the nearby North Park, not to mention the workforce centers and things that are easy access, via MetroLink and Metro Bus. The other side that is important in this particular development is a focus on mixed use, which we've heard routinely is important from everyone, but finding the right kind of mixed uses was really important to our team and all of our partners as we got going. So our mixed use includes a satellite office of employment connection, what Sal is going to speak to here pretty briefly. And we are offering a small spot for a police substation that contributes to, security at this location. And then, just a final thing to throw out, it's a $19.5 million, our present estimate overall total development cost and investment at this particular location. So one more slide from me, and then this will get better when we turn it over to Sal and Employment Connection. But and here's a quick look at how those mixed use spaces get integrated into this particular plan. What is in red is where Employment Connections North County Satellite Office will be, and the blue is what we're making available to the San Luis County Police Department for that community, kind of based substation at this particular location. So we have just a few more quick slides to go through, and I have the really great honor of passing this off to Sal Martinez at Employment Connection.
Thank you, Aaron. Great job. Very excited to be here with all of you this morning. Thanks to CMT and all of their various partners for giving us an opportunity to present today and for their ongoing support of this development. Employment Connection was founded in 1977, and so we've been serving the St. Louis region for many years. We provide a variety of services for our clients. Of course, our name includes the word employment. So Self-sufficiency through employment is basically our mission here at the agency, and we provide a number of wraparound services to assist our clients in doing that. We have a team of career specialists that work with our clients. They provide daily case management to help our clients into that transition into the workforce where they can become self-sufficient. And we provide a variety of wraparound services, including eviction prevention assistance, rapid rehousing assistance for our clients who are unhoused. We provide free mental behavioral health counseling for our clients, financial literacy, access to clothing, transportation assistance, etc. Over the years, we have evolved to a place where we serve anyone who walks in the door, regardless of their lived experiences, background, experience in the workplace, inexperience in the workplace. Our motto is that we don't turn anyone away who needs our assistance. We serve the entire city of St. Louis County, and St. Clair County for our friends in the state of Illinois. Next slide, Travis. As I mentioned, our primary goal is to help our clients achieve self-sufficiency through employment. So we look forward to bringing our services into the University Crossing development. Here is one of our World of Work classes. We typically have between 25 to 50 clients every week at our various offices. And this is their entry and pathway into the world of employment. So we look forward to hosting these World of Work classes within the University Crossing development. Travis? And certainly, after our clients graduate from World of Work, they're able to visit our clothing closet as they prepare for their soon to come interviews. And so here are a group of our clients and staff members. It's always a celebration at Employment Connection. We're very proud of our clients. They work very hard to move forward in their lives, and that's our job, is to help them on their journey. Next slide. As Aaron mentioned, this is a tremendous opportunity for us in working with Bywater to come into this community. There are so many wonderful things happening in the area. There's so many employment opportunities, development opportunities, etc. And our job is to expose our clients to the wonderful things that are happening in the community. So kudos to all of the partners and entities that have made this development as exciting as it is. This is Employment Connection's first foray into the development world. I was very excited to share with my board. Luckily for me, I've been friends with Aaron Burnett for many, many years, and he was able to help me convince our board that this was the next logical step in our evolution. Certainly, it's one thing for us to work with other landlords and property managers to keep our clients housed, but we wanted to get to a place where we can house some of our clients ourselves. With our services, we will not only serve the greater community in unincorporated St. Louis County, city of St. Louis, wherever individuals may come from, but we also would serve the families who live within University Crossing. Next slide. Again, as Aaron mentioned, this is just a wonderful opportunity for our two organizations. That is a beautiful station. A lot of care, attention, and maintenance goes into keeping this area beautiful. And we're just glad to now be a part of the overall party that is happening at this location. Next slide. Again, there's wonderful investments and developments happening in the community. My wife, in fact, works at, I guess, what is now called Evernorth, formerly Express Scripts, Cigna. So she's very excited that Employment Connection and Bywater will be working on development right in the neighborhood where she goes to work every day. But we know there are other wonderful entities within this community as well. Next slide, Travis. And so, of course, this takes a team to make all of this happen. Again, we serve as a co-development partner with Bywater Development Group, but this project would obviously not be possible if it were not for the talent, effort, energy and expertise of a number of other entities. So you will see our development team roster. We meet with them. It seems like every day for certain aspects of this development. That's nothing new. That's what these developments take. We have a number of financial partners. Aaron mentioned that we received wonderful news from MHDC in 2023. We've also received a tremendous amount of assistance from the St. Louis County Office of Community Development. The Housing Authority of St. Louis County has been very supportive, PNC Real Estate, and Parkside Financial Bank and Trust. So this is truly a team effort, and a lot of thanks needs to go around. Next slide. Again, thanks to the other partners in the community. That includes Bi-State Development. John Lang, I know, is here today. Thank you so much, John, for your ongoing support. St. Louis County Councilwoman Rita Daves has been in support of this project since day one, as has County Executive Page and his staff. State Senator Brian Williams has been a tremendous supporter of this project. He's a big supporter of CMT and public transit in the community. He tells a fantastic story about one of his family members and their experience with public transit. So we certainly want to thank the state senator for his work. And again, the wonderful partner, CMT, first and foremost, University of Missouri St. Louis, ARP St. Louis. We also have a long-term relationship. We have about 8 AARP members working at Employment Connection. We look forward to bringing some AARP members to University Crossings and many other supporters that we don't have time to mention today. So I will end it there, and thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sal and Aaron, for that update on North Hanley. Aaron, I really appreciated your timeline going back to 2016. This has actually been on the agenda since I think I started in 1994, right after Metrolink opened. North Hanley has been a topic of conversation for development. So we are very excited to see something happening at this station and look forward to seeing the continued growth. So thank you. Now let's turn to UMSL North and South with the Transform UMSL plan. Janet, I'm going to turn it over to you for an update on that plan around those 2 stations. So welcome, Janet.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks everybody for attending today. I'm Janet Wilding. I am Assistant Vice Chancellor for Economic and Community Development at UMSL. I've been doing planning in St. Louis for about 33 years now. So I feel like I've kind of seen the gamut of all different kinds of regional projects in St. Louis and what works and what needs to be built into these projects. And as Aaron and Sal both said, I mean, these are long-term master plans, they're long-term visions, and it takes a lot of focus and it takes a lot of partnership to get these done. So I was glad that Sal and Aaron made that point, because I always feel like my friends who don't really understand what I do for a living say, you're always working on some big, long project. And it's like, you know what, that's just what it takes. It just takes a long time to get these done. So you have to have a lot of fortitude and a lot of patience, but I think the results kind of speak for themselves. So I want to talk a bit about the Transform UMSL plan, which is an overall vision for the campus. And again, I'm so glad you brought up Brian Williams, Senator Brian Williams, because when UMSL was embarking on looking at their campus and really trying to kind of just normalize and make some sense of kind of all the disparate properties that UMSL had purchased over the years. This campus opened in 1963, and properties just been purchased over the decades. And some of it, you know, wasn't contiguous, or there were other plans for it that didn't really pan out. So in this effort, a local firm was brought on to look at the campus, and this chancellor, Dr. Kristen Sobolik, really wanted to densify North Campus with the academic units. So she wanted all the academic units to be closer together. And then she wanted a plan for the kind of additional properties that we weren't going to use for academic units, to figure out a development plan and how to create partnerships with private industry on campus that would provide research opportunities for our faculty and would also provide internship opportunities for our students. So just to give you an idea, the profile of the typical UMSL student is that we don't have a typical student. We have a lot of unconventional students. We also educate a lot of first generation students. So these are people that are the first people in their family to go to college. And so academically, we provide a lot of wraparound services for our students. 85% of them are Pell eligible. So we're really focused on social mobility for our students. And so anything we do on the real estate side has to feed into that vision that the chancellor has, that all of these services need to be in practice so that they serve either a researcher or a student. So that's kind of the ethic we bring to all of our real estate development. In terms of the Metrolink stops that we have on campus, UMSL South is really going to be the place on campus that we do a lot of partnerships with outside entities that really serve our researchers and our students. So currently around South Campus, we're looking at additional student housing because we do have increased need for student housing, affordable housing, and then also housing for our junior faculty and staff that's affordable. We just had a great session with the ULI Ready group. They used South Campus as their project, which was really fun. And we got great ideas from them. And it was, it's a young cohort, so it's younger people looking at South Campus with fresh eyes, which was just fantastic. Got a lot of good information from them. We also are partnering with SSM because traditionally there was always a healthcare focus on South Campus. And there was a real request by the community to have some community healthcare on South Campus. So we're working with SSM to be a tenant in our patient care center where the optometry school is, and that primary care will also serve the community. We're also looking at a behavioral and a mental health center that will serve the community and our students. So that's our first big partnership with a private entity, SSM. So we're very excited about that. On North Campus around the North Station, that area also, there's some open property to partner with private industry. So I think Sal mentioned Evernorth. That underlying property is also UMSL owned, and that was a partnership that was done with Express Scripts with all kinds of incentives and everything. But that is really the model for how we want to do partnerships with private industry. So we've got some parcels around the North Station that we are doing a very traditional business attraction play on. We're interested in advanced pharmaceuticals because we have that expertise in our chemistry department. We're also looking at an extension of 39 North, which would be indoor ag on our campus, greenhouses and vertical farming and that kind of thing. So we're looking at those companies and that supply chain to attract to the UMSL campus. We're working very closely with our logistics and supply chain group in the business school, which has deep expertise in poultry supply chain and logistics. That's Dr. Hytel Lee. So again, we want to take those programs that are doing really well or have an expertise and bring a private industry partner onto campus. The way that works real estate wise is that the campus would never sell any property, but we would lease property to a developer or a company to do their development on campus. So that's kind of an overview. I provided the link to the Transform UMSL plan so everybody could just see where we are and how we're thinking of this bigger vision. And then again, that vision is sort of broken down into smaller projects. And then I wanted to do a big shout out to Senator Brian Williams because all of the academic units, probably there is some private money in that, but the bulk of that money is ARPA money. And Senator Brian Williams really advocated worked a lot with actually Governor Parsons to bring a lot of that $110 million in ARPA funding to our campus. So we're very grateful for that. And that really was the kickoff of the master plan. And that money, as everybody on this call probably knows, has to wrap up by September of 2026. So we're really on a tear to get those projects finished. The last thing I'll say is that I have a background in working at Great Rivers Greenway for 12 years, and the St. Vincent Greenway also runs through our campus, and the Jones Trail connects to that. I'm a big believer in the green space and the Greenway system connecting with the transit system, and I'm really excited that we'll have transit greenways and business and housing all connected on our campus. So that's a quick overview. I know we want to get to Q&A, so I will pass it back to Kim.
Thanks, Janet. And I remember when we did the ULI tap of the UMSL South Station and all of the potential that was identified there like a decade ago. So very exciting. So now we're going to turn it over to Daphne Moore, who's going to discuss the latest information tied to the transit-oriented development study at the Rock Road Station. And I must have history with everyone, but Daphne, I remember a decade ago when we got a grant to develop the TOD overlay zoning for this station, which was successfully passed by the city of Pagedale. So we are really looking forward to hearing your update on this station, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. So I'll quickly go through my 5 slides. So Travis, you can go through to the next slide. So we were fortunate to get funding from the Environmental Protection Agency, known as EPA, to do a site reuse study for the Rock Road Station. And so during this market assessment, we really wanted to make sure we were not duplicating any services along the line, because we know it's going to take time to develop the Rock Road Station into what we want it to be. And so if you look at the map on this slide, you can kind of see that the connectivity of UMSL, WashU, BJC, Harris Stowe, the airport. And so it's telling a story of the connectivity that we already have and how we can expand, populate our transit systems as we continue to grow as a region. And so as we want market rate housing, of course, and we want retail, we have to be realistic about what is accessible at this time. And so the market assessment really honed in on how do we build on current capacity of programs and really looking at partnerships. So you can go to the next slide. So as we talked about affordable housing strategies, we really focus on the need of, we're always saying we have 10,000 jobs open. Well, we need a lot of workers, right? And one of the issues is always transit. And I think public transit is not talked enough in this region of how we connect transit to jobs. And so our approach is really to look at phasing in targeted AMI levels of 60 to 80%, then phasing into workforce housing, and then fully phasing into full market rate housing. So having a gradual mix of income, one, so we can finance this project, because again, it's hard to have market rate projects in areas that are not used to having high density projects and market rate, because you don't have the comps to do that. The next thing is looking at our workforce housing needs and aligning them with the mission of Beyond Housing. Beyond Housing is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And so we've been in the affordable housing game a long time, and we also service so many people, and we need to make sure that our communities are meeting the needs in every area, and transit is one of the most important needs that our community needs. Next slide. And so when we talk about linear neighborhoods, oftentimes we don't see the connection. So right now, the Rock Road may not have all the amenities, but if you look at the Delmar station, if you look at UMSL, you look at all these stations that have different things, whether it's medical, educational, housing opportunities, coffee, restaurants, shopping. There's a connection. And so working to make sure that we are, again, not duplicating, but enhancing the connections that we already have and really creating that transit corridor that can provide services for our current community and our future needs as our population grows. And this also allows us time to phase in properly and not just to say, hey, we're going to build something just to build something. And so I really want to hone in on, we have so many great things along our transit line. And I think oftentimes we take those things for granted and not thinking about the connectivity. Next slide. And so the study just came, our assessment study just came out. We're still working to look through and hone through everything. But one of the things that we're focused on right now is to make sure we have the sites development ready. And of course, working with our partner Bi-State to make sure that if we need to swap land, that that's something that we can do without taking away from parking or any other amenities that are currently at the station. So I will stop there so we can get to the panel.
Thank you, Daphne, very much. Great information and happy anniversary. So let's start by opening the discussion for questions, but we're going to start with John Langa and bring him into our conversation. So John, we know there's movement at other stops along the red line as well. Do you want to give a quick overview of any of the other updates that our audience might be interested in before we jump to the other questions?
Well, immediately south on that, or nearly, or to the south of that linear neighborhood, of the southern part of it, we're working in conjunction with WashU to look at that overall site around the Delmar station. That would end up being about 10 acres, effectively Delmar, Rosedale, Enright, De Pere, and that includes our parking lot area, and then effectively south to Delmar. So we're taking a hard look right now on some of the pre-development needs that would have to be put together, accomplished, including some survey work. So we're taking a hard look at that with our partner WashU. Obviously, the Expo Forest Park opened a couple of years ago at the old De Bolivar parking lot site in conjunction with an adjacent property that the developer acquired, our old parking lot, plus the adjacent property, and built that market rate housing, 280 units of that. So those are two recent projects and products that we're certainly involved in.
Okay, great. Thank you, John, for that update. So let's jump right in. We have some questions that have been sent to us. We have others that are popping up as a part of our webinar. So let's get to these questions. The first question, all of you have developments that are in different timelines right now, but what has been the most significant challenge for your development or bringing your development to fruition?
I can go first.
This is a lesson learned. So we're going to identify some challenges that people need to be aware of moving forward. So Daphne, we're going to let you jump in.
Yeah, funding is always a challenge, and also finding the right partner. So, one of the things we're looking at now, and while we're looking at the phasing, is because, of course, low market tax credits or housing tax credits are always easier to obtain, but also how do we integrate markets that are not used to having high density in housing in their areas. 24/1 is mostly single family. So really being intentional about how we introduce it into community. And then again, having the right partners or who have the same vision to make community impact as beyond housing.
Great. Thank you, Daphne. Anyone else want to jump in?
I'll just say I would echo that. I think the interest rates have really worked against us. And I think that, I'm seeing Aaron nod his head. It's been really challenging for the development community. And so I think when interest rates are this high, making these projects cash flow is really, really difficult. And I think as a public university, we cannot do as many creative financial types of capital stacks that a lot of not-for-profits or private companies can do. So the challenge for us is meeting the market where they are and being able, I mean, we have land and we have the ability to lease, but the market is looking for more help than that. And that's very difficult right now.
Okay, thank you. So there was a question, and this came in when we were having the conversation about the University Crossing development. But I think Daphne, you touched on it a little bit as well when you were talking about the need not to duplicate services or destinations at every stop. But the question was, and I think it's directed at University Crossing, how will you seek to add commercial activity such as a coffee shop, to your development, Sal and Aaron? But Daphne, you may want to jump in as well, because this was part of your conversation about not duplicating destinations.
Sure. I would say for us, rooftops really determine what you can have. And currently, we don't have the rooftops to bring in major retail to the Rock Road station. So it would be a disaster for us to even consider that in our first phase. We do believe over time that as our population grows, as the rooftops grows, that we can add commercial, local eateries and things of that nature. But the market really is going to dictate how we develop the sites along the MetroLink. And we really need a little marketing to really help us start to say, hey, take a look at the red line for development and growth.
Right.
This is two questions in a row where Daphne has stolen our answers. Did a better job than we would have.
All about timing, Aaron.
It's the exact same thing at University Crossing. I think, one of the very good pressures we've heard throughout, and there's been a ton of community engagement on that development, is there needs to be something mixed use. And we were afraid of putting that mixed use bay, if you will, and then not getting the right kind of user. And the relationship with Employment Connection that can bring services to bear, not just for the residents, but for the larger community, that is a much better fit. And I think to Daphne's point, we're trying to build our way to a market that can support those other kind of uses and activities, over time. But unfortunately, the metrics just aren't there, right now. The sales job is going to be needed, but it's easier with the rooftops and the investment. So two times in a row, Daphne's right,
Yeah, and I'll just echo that. I mean, I'm sure this audience is very familiar with Placer AI. I mean, you can get down to, you can put a line around an area and see how people are moving with anonymous Google data. And since COVID, people's patterns of spending and how long they spend in any one place has changed dramatically. So, in the old days, if you had a campus, you had a kind of a captured audience for 8 hours a day. Well, that's just not the case anymore with everybody working hybrid, and they're using the amenities are closer to their home now. That makes more sense for people. Their daycare, their grocery, their dry cleaner, whatever the amenity you're using. So it's become more challenging to convince the commercial real estate market that you have a captured audience that's going to use their amenity on a regular basis. I was so shocked to see the DGX in downtown Clayton is closing. I would have thought that made all the sense in the world as a neighborhood retail based amenity. And so I look at those kinds of patterns, and I'm not saying I know what the future is, but I know it's different. And I know that data that the commercial real estate brokers have is dictating a lot of where those national chains go. I will say locally owned establishments that can serve the community after the workday, so more of an 18-hour day, probably have a better shot. And we've seen a little bit of that on Natural Bridge. We now have Clayco's gone in on the north end of it's kind of on the northern side of where Bywater's building, you know, that's a more captured audience, but then they have food amenity inside their company. So it's a real conundrum about where these amenities are going to locate because they're becoming a lot pickier and they have better data. So I would just put that out there that it's a little bit of a different, it's a different market than I've been used to.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for that response. So Erin and Sal, this one is going to go to you so you can answer first, and no one will steal your thunder. But why North Hanley? We know, Erin, you've done work around the Swansea Metrolink station, but this has been a long time in coming, your focus on the North Hanley station. So what is it about North Hanley that appealed to you for this development, and why stick with it and bring it to fruition?
Aaron, you want to start and maybe I'll add a little something after you.
You're muted, Aaron.
I'm worried I'll take the next 16 minutes and I'll try to do this briefly, but you know, part of it is the right level of community assets to build off of and connect to in that immediate area, not to mention what's available, you know, via the Metrolink. I think another big part is the partners who were involved. We got to know Bi-State on a previous TOD in Swansea. You know, got many opportunities to interface with UMSL, CMT. I think, you know, we're in touch with them at least once a week on average and have been for several years. And a lot of advocacy, a lot of groups trying to bring different layers of investment activities, ideas. So that was probably number one. And I think number two, just for us, it's a need in the community and is an opportunity to set forth a TOD plan that can continue at that site and something comparable be replicated at other locations by us or others, you know, that this kind of helps introduce that development pattern into this region a little more. So that's the Reader's Digest version. But Sal, but feel free to cover what I missed there, sir.
Yeah, I'll just throw in my 2 cents from employment connection standpoint. We've seen a dramatic increase in our clients that live in unincorporated St. Louis County. And we believe that we need to be as accessible to our clients as we can be. Recently, we launched a new office within Northwest Crossing, so formerly Northwest Plaza. And so that makes us accessible to individuals that live in St. Anne or those municipalities near that site. But because of the increase of clients from the zip codes around University Crossing, it just made sense for us to work with Bywater to be a part of this great development.
Thank you. So these projects, they're all underway to some degree. Daphne's project is, you know, looking at what would the future would hold. We know St. Louis County is working on its long-range 2050 plan. What could the county do to help incentivize more projects like this, or what could be included in that long-range plan at the county level that might assist more development around stations? And there is the caveat that North Hanley is the only station in unincorporated St. Louis County, but what can be done?
I'll jump in here, Kim. I think one of the things we lack at the county at this stage of the game is an entity that has capacity to do land assemblage. And this is around Metrolink. This is for business attraction. We have a lot of in the city, but the city seems to have a better handle on it than the county. I think the county needs more expertise and maybe like a task force to bring all of their capacity together to really look at the whole county and provide some expertise and some subsidy for assembling properties in a way that is attractive to the market. I think that we're just running out of sites, let's be honest. And then we have vacant land that maybe is, you know, environmentally impacted. We need a fund to do all of that subsidy for cleaning up that property. And I know in the 90s, that was a big activity at St. Louis County. I was involved in that in South County after the big flood of 93. And that is a huge bonus to the commercial real estate market that's under pressure with interest rates and everything else. A lot of employers and a lot of companies that want to move want a clean site that is all stubbed in for all their utilities, or they're not going to move here. And so I think there needs to be a concerted effort at St. Louis County to assemble those sites, or we're going to lose those sites to Warrenton. We're going to lose those sites to an hour west of here. So that's my big thought on that. And I did express that on a subcommittee to the county plan.
Great. Thank you, Janet.
I feel like Janet was on some notes that I wrote earlier. I'm big on proactivity. Like, we can no longer be a passive region in general, but I do think the county has to step its game up when it comes to looking at other areas that has the land and potential to really make the county stand out in redevelopment. And so for me, I really want to see some great packaging of incentives, because we know that in the 24-1 area specifically, that we're going to need incentives. We're going to need some infrastructure dollars. And so we can't do it alone. The partnerships are going to be critical. We have talked to the St. Louis Partnership about their environmental fund that they have, but the fund needs more money. One site could take up some of those funds depending on the site. And so I think we have to be bullish along our transit lines, because when you really look at it, we got some great things. I took Amtrak, for example, to Chicago. Hadn't done that in probably 10 years. And I'm like, why are you taking the train more? And so really starting to get the county to be our greatest marketer of development and investment along our transit lines and areas near our transit line to grow the county.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And if I could just add really
Oh,
briefly,
yeah.
the unique position the county has is the leadership of being kind of first in on a lot of these things, because ultimately it ends up being state, federal funds, public, private investment, all those kind of things. But no one ever wants to be first, right? So setting priorities and then funding and throwing funding around those priorities, since they targeting funding around those priorities is something that the county can certainly bring to bear.
Great. Thank you very much for that. So this question is a little bit about timeline. So Aaron graciously gave us a timeline for his project as part of their presentation. But Janet and Daphne, I know we're going to get this question following this webinar. What does the timeline, and I know Janet, you may have touched on it a little bit with the ARPA funds needed to be expended by 2026, but what do you view are the timelines for both of your projects? And Daphne, I know yours is more a little bit more pie in the sky right now, but what does that look like in your minds or for your organizations?
So on North Campus, we are actively marketing our sites to the development community. We're working with GSL and their business attraction folks to be really focused on, these are the kind of industry we're interested in. This is the size of the sites we have. This is the method that the university uses to do development. So we're actively doing that on North Campus now on that acreage that's not being used for academic units. On South Campus, we just were awarded $10 million from St. Louis County, and that's on a pretty short timeline. So we'll be using that funding to finish up some work with SSM, and then also to look at RFPs for other parts of South Campus, which will probably be the multifamily housing or the student housing first, is my guess. Again, we'll have to find a development partner to work with. So the market is going to dictate for us, like, what's first in from our feasibility study. So we should be pretty active in the next year to 18 months on South Campus. And those are the two critical ones we're working on right now. And we're also doing some internal work with some companies on lab space and greenhouse space, but those projects are smaller. They're probably under $500,000. So we just opened an API lab for a pharmaceutical company that's working with our chemistry department. We have a geospatial lab that was opened to start training people in geospatial to support the NGA opening. So we're doing smaller projects like that on the workforce side. But the big real estate projects are probably ARPA and then the county money, I would say.
Great. Thank you, Janet.
Yeah, and for us, our next stage is making sure we get the funding to make sure everything is cleaned up on our sites, engaging community. There was Beyond Housing has worked on this project, I believe, since 2012. And so there was community engagement, but that's been a long time. And so one of our biggest things is to engage the community to make sure we're meeting their needs. And then the other thing is we're taking this show on the road. We're going to the state capitol. We're going to be asking for funding. We're going to be talking to the county and also talking to some partners that we think that can be a partner in the development. We did originally have some interest in that site. We're not sure if one of the developers is still interested. And so we're really looking for a good development partner. So if you're out there and you are interested in developing along this Rock Road station, call me. So, those are our next stages.
We're here for connections, Daphne, I promise. That's exactly why we're here. So one question before we jump to our final, because I know we're getting short on time. Has anyone, and I think this might have gone to Sal and Aaron, was there any consideration of pedestrian malls in that larger scale schematic that you had up, Aaron, which went beyond just phase one?
The short answer is yes. To some degree, for phase one, what we're calling University Crossing, Bi-State is committed to reinvest the proceeds, some of the proceeds of the sale into capital improvements at this location and create a pedestrian walkway from that development down to the platform and to connect to the rest of the station. But the reality of it is that's really important, and we're glad it's going to be there. But as other phases happen by us or others, you kind of need to rethink that connecting infrastructure as much as you can. So I think there'll be something really good that's ADA compliant, safe, all those kind of things that will connect, but then hopefully kind of grows as the rest of the development grows as well. So John, I don't know if you have, or Sal have anything to add on that one or not.
Okay, great. So before we wrap today, I always like to ask this final question of all of our panelists because I know this conversation is going to spur lots more questions, but what is your key takeaway from each of you to the audience today? And this will be recorded and shared later as a resource to the further audience who may be listening to this later on. What's your key takeaway on the opportunities you are seeing or you have seen around development around transit and connecting those transit nodes?
Kim, I think my key takeaway is we're not convincing people anymore that transit, greenways, and all of these things are amenities, which is a big change. I mean, I remember in the early 2000s going to public meetings where people booed greenways. That doesn't happen anymore. Like people get it. And especially when we're attracting businesses from outside St. Louis, they completely understand this kind of like complete streets, connectivity, quality of life, green space with multi-family. I just feel like we're beyond having to convince folks of that. It's more the devil is in the details on the financing, the capital stack, and convincing the market to take the risk. That's my personal perspective on it.
Thanks, Janet.
And I would add that for me, I want the region to start really reimagining how we market what is accessible to our communities. And a lot of times, even I take for granted that, hey, you can get on a train and go to the next exit, go eat, play, go shopping. And so I think we as a region need to make sure that the community knows what's at the fingertips of their hands and that they don't have to drive everywhere. No, public transportation, we're very fortunate to have a good system. I've been in other communities and it may take you an hour to get on that bus and drive to a destination. So we're very fortunate to have a train that goes to the airport that has university along its line, or you can hop on and park and go work at BJC or WashU or somewhere. So I think that we need to make sure that we're connecting the workforce and really giving information of why and how you can service along these lines to use different activities, and of course go to the Cardinals game. So
Great. Thank you, Daphne.
You know, I'll just kind of say from the experience on University Crossing and then ask Sal to jump in as well. But I think the other thing that is a big takeaway is that these can't really happen in isolation. They can't happen well in isolation. At University Crossing has been a really, really good example, and it sounds like the other efforts have the same thing. A lot of key partners, a lot of stakeholders. University Crossing has enjoyed a great deal of community support, but then also some really good feedback and some pointed questions on here's how we think you can make this better. And it's really impacted the development as well. So I think, you know, in our presentation, we kind of showed some of the layering of CMT's placemaking investment at North Hanley, the by-state's commitment. MoDOT is working on Hanley, you know, that stretch of Hanley right by the property to make it more pedestrian safe. Getting all those pieces to kind of come together, I think, is critical. And it does add time, but it adds exponential benefit at the same time.
I know we're at 9:30. The only thing I would say, there's a role for everybody to push for transportation-oriented development, whether you're a resident, whether you are a business person. There's room for everybody in here in order to push this. You know, University Crossing for us creates an intersection of employment, housing, and public transportation. We've been dreaming about being involved in a development like this for decades. And so this needs to continue. We need to have other groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings ceremonies in the near future.
Great. Thank you, Sal. John, would you like to say a final takeaway?
Yeah, if I could add, there's also, I think, a fiduciary going on, and that's the stewardship of public investment. And we're seeing some, I think, some great adaptive reuse of that. It's on a utilized parking lot. Okay, is what it is, but it's not anymore. And that's going now towards what Aaron and Sal are doing, or what happened over to Bolivar. And I think there's a thread there also of refocusing and repurposing some of those public investments.
Great. Thank you. So
Thank you.
thank you to all of our panelists today. This was a wonderful conversation, and I hope you all saw value in it as well. We want to let people know this is recorded. We will have it available later on this afternoon. If you're interested in resharing it or rewatching it, or someone said a nugget of great information that you want to recapture. So it will be available on the CMT website this afternoon. Going to Sal's, there's a little bit of place for everyone in these conversations, not only about TOD, but also about transit. We have a couple call to actions for you today. First of all, the Missouri Senate will begin conversations about the budget and investment in public transit. And right now, coming out of the House, state operating assistance for public transit has been reduced by about 44%. So if you know anyone on the Missouri Senate Appropriations Committee, I've heard his name a couple times, Senator Brian Williams is one. If you wouldn't mind reaching out to him and asking them to restore the 10 million from GR for public transit operating assistance across the state for a total of 11.7 million, which, as we've discussed numerous times, is peanuts, but it's a level of peanuts that we need to hold on to so that we can move to the next level. And it's critical for the 30 providers in the state of Missouri. The other thing is, get out and give transit a ride. As Daphne said, there's so many things that you can explore and do around our transit system. So we ask you to get out and consider a ride on transit, and hopefully give us some feedback. So thank you all for joining us today. There's lots of activities where you can get involved with CMT. Check out our website at cmt-stl.org. Thank you again to our panelists and sponsors, and make it a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.